As we mentioned earlier, the track view works with different modes, and this lets you achieve different levels of functionality. The different modes are Edit Keys mode, Edit Time mode, Edit Ranges mode, and Position Ranges mode. And when you click on these different modes, the buttons to the right of this Lock Selection button change to reflect the mode chosen. So the buttons to the right here reflect the mode. So we're going to switch to Edit Keys mode and describe that mode. So because we have Edit Keys mode on, we can edit individual keys or selections of keys in the track view. And the buttons to the right of the Lock Selection button will explain right now. When I select an object, I can use the Add Visibility Track button to add a new track to this selected object. And this track controls the object's visibility over time. And so when you add a key to the visibility track, it sets the visibility of the object to either on or off, using the number 0 for off and the number 1 for on. And when time passes a key, the visibility of the object is set until the next key. So I'm going to click the Add Visibility Track button, and you can see that it adds a visibility track. I can add a key to turn visibility on and off, and on and off. The next button lets you delete a visibility track. Right now this visibility track is selected because it's white. Or if I have something else selected, I can just click here to select it again. And I can delete that visibility track like this, clicking on the button. The Delete Keys button lets you delete the selection of keys. So if I select a key here, I can delete it. And if I select a key or a number of keys, I can delete them by clicking on the Delete Keys button. And I can hit Control-Z to undo those commands. The Move Keys button lets you move a key or any selected keys through time. So I can take this key here, select it, and move it with the Move Keys tool. Or I can select Arrange and move it anywhere I like. And you can notice that I can move it beyond other keys. The Slide Keys button works similarly, but when I have this selected, when I try to move keys beyond the edge, it bumps other keys out of the way so that it doesn't change the order of the keys. So I can select one key and I can move it around. You can see that it can't move beyond the other keys, but you can slide it around. The Scale Keys button lets me select a number of keys and then scale them over time. So I drag to the left and it makes them closer together. I drag to the right and it makes them further apart. The Add Keys button lets me do just that. I select this button and I can click here or here to add a key wherever I click. The Modify Subtree button gives me access to the keys in the subtrees. When I click this button again, it turns off the subtrees. If I select a specific key, I can use the Properties button to get that key's properties. In this case, I have the key for position selected, and I can see the key properties. I can see the time of that keyframe, the X value at that point for position, the Y value, and the Z value. I can also change the in and out curves to change the behavior of the keyframe in and out. I can click on these arrows to move forward a keyframe and back a keyframe. So it tells me the keyframe number and the time of that keyframe. If you click on the Advanced button, you get your advanced settings, and you'll remember these from the Motion panel because these are very similar. As a matter of fact, they're exactly the same. and you can click back to simple. To the right of the Properties button is the Utilities for Track View. When I click on this button, I can use some of these Track View utilities. I can select keys and I can randomize them. I can create out-of-range keys, and I can select specific keys by time. And then finally, to the right, I can rename my track just by typing in a new track name. And then hitting return. And you can see that it reflects the name change. And you can see the name change is reflected in the title bar. Now that we know how to use the Edit Keys mode, let's make our window a little bit smaller and play around with it a little bit. When I press play, you can see that the timeline moves across. You can see our animation happening in our perspective view. And I can physically move keys around to change the way that the animation works. And I can change the range, and you can see that it's reflected in my perspective view. So you can dynamically change your animation with your track view while it's running.